Good morning. How are you? I had makeup, but no time to do my hair. But I promised you I would be here at 9 o'clock, talking about planning your week. So here I am. Hello, good morning. It's Monday, and Mondays go either way for me. Good morning. Sometimes on a Monday, I'm like, woo, yeah, let's do this. And sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, this feels so heavy. My to-do list is wild. My house is a tip, my kids are crying, and sometimes that overwhelm of Mondays can just feel really heavy. So I always come back to this kind of structure and this kind of framework, and I thought I would share it with you today. This is not professing to solve all your dreams and desires and, just do these 7 things and you'll have an immediate whatever. But it might just help you trigger some thoughts in terms of your business and how you can kind of go and be really centered and grounded. And I know that when I operate from that place of like, yes, I feel like I can think straight, I can feel like I've got clarity, then I know that I'm going to do good work, essentially. So I'm going to share a few things. Grab a piece of paper and a pen if you want to. If you're watching on the replay or if you're listening on the podcast, which I'm going to share all around, then welcome. I'm so pleased to have you here. Thank you for joining. So the first thing, especially at this time of lockdown as well, people are saying it, we're in unusual times. And every week is different. It certainly feels like that in our house. Like some weeks we're like, oh my goodness, it's so lovely that we're all together and we're all eating like organic vegetables and having a brilliant time. And then there's some days or weeks and hours where I'm like, oh my goodness, this is full on, this is hectic. So the first thing I want to share with you, regardless of however you plan your week, is I guess that's the question, is what are the things that you can do to look after yourself? So on a very basic level, mine are running without anybody else, like with my headphones or just silently getting outside, getting away from things morning. The second is making sure I'm drinking loads of water and tea. New Le Creuset mug, Juliet, I'm sure you'll like it. And trying to eat good food and going to bed when I can. So last night I went to bed at 8:30 and it was so necessary. So on a very basic level, I know we're not talking about spa days or like a weekend away or any of those sorts of things, but those basic things are sometimes really easy to do and they're really easy not to do, especially when you have people who need you. And sometimes I feel like I'm running a cafe, like somebody's always hungry, like when are we eating again, what are we having for lunch, all the things. So if I can operate from that place of going, this is what I need, and looking after myself first and foremost, it's going to make me more money in my business. And at first I was like, what? No, what? Like taking more time away from my business rather than doing things that's going to make me more money. I had to see it to believe it. I had to do it again, and I was like, oh, okay, right, got it. So the second thing I want to share is when I'm doing my planning, I try to operate from a place of proactive rather than reactive, first and foremost. So proactively, what are the things I want to do that I know are going to maintain or grow my business? So I want to, for example, like I've checked in with my clients this morning. So I do like WhatsApp notes and I've read over things. I've got a client session at 10:30. So I'm really feeling like I'm being proactive with those. So I'm planning. So I'm not even kind of getting into the email thing or like going back and forth and being reactive in that way, because otherwise if I start from that place, I feel like I've just kind of, it's like, again, that thing of you feel like you fed everybody else and then you're still going, oh my goodness, but I'm hungry, but I don't know what I need to focus on now. Oh my goodness, you just kind of feel like you lost that lack of clarity. So wherever you can, really think about what are the things that are going to proactively grow your business. And then it sort of gives you a bit of clarity of how you can move forward. Okay, the third thing. I look at the shape of my week. So in our house, we are both freelancers, and even though we do have a structure in terms of our 4-year-old's childcare, now that that's back up and running, our shape of the week can sometimes look quite different. So Matt, before all this happened, he would tour a lot, he'd be filming away. Sometimes I would be doing things, and certainly over the last year, the shape of our week has been, we've got a 10-month-old as well. So sometimes the shape of our week is a bit all over the shop, but it's a really good place. And sometimes if you can do this on a Sunday, this is useful too. But for me, I like to look at where the shape of my week is. Have I got some really full-on packed days? So today for me, I've got quite a busy day. I've got lots of meetings and other bits and bobs, and Matt's mainly going to be with Luna. And also tomorrow I'm doing Jam and Plan Live. If you haven't signed up, come over and join. So I know the first chunk of my week is going to be busy. From Wednesday onwards, even though I've got clients booked in and other bits and bobs, I can be a bit more flexible in between, because I know that I will have put a lot of things in place today and tomorrow. So I look at the rhythm, I look at the shape of my week, and then I go on to what is my rhythm of the week. So for me, morning Claire, the rhythm of my week is I try and work to the rhythm of how my brain works, and this has been game changing. So I always used to read all these things like I work till 2:00 in the morning. Well, frankly, there's been so many times, if you've had a house party in the last 20 years, it's likely that I will have fallen asleep on your sofa, because I just can't stay up late. Unless, and I'm sure in the beginning of dating Matt, I'm sure I gave a false impression, I'm just kind of this cool chick that stays out till 3:00 in the morning. Oh my God, it was so hard trying to maintain that. And then very quickly he was like, you're much more of an early morning person, aren't you? Yes, I am, Matty. Yes, I am. So when I work to the rhythm of my week, so if I've got writing to do, if I've got creative stuff, I would much rather, my kids were up this morning and up and down, and that kind of, I don't know, they sort of both went back to sleep about 20 to 5, and that does seem like a crazy silly time to wake up, but actually I was awake and I got loads of stuff done. I just sat on my sofa, made a big couple of brews, and it really helped. So working with the rhythm of my body, I feel like there's a Gloria Estefan song in here somewhere, it helps me, because then I can structure the things that I've got going on and make them work for me. So likewise, I don't see coaching clients at 9 till 10:30 at night, because it's just not a great use of my energy and time and all the rest of it. So if I'm seeing American clients, for example, I really try and make the time difference work for both of us. Okay, so next we've done look after yourself, proactive versus reactive, shape of your week, rhythm of your week. Morning, Isabel, how you doing? Next, goals. So I have done this a lot, so have so many other people. Give me a heart if you have done this as well. I used to write random things on my to-do list, like marketing. I'm gonna do some marketing this week. What the hell is that? I really didn't know, but because I felt like I knew I needed to do it, I used to just write it on my list, or emails, or sort that thing out, and it would be so vague that I would just never do it. So what I do now is, because I have an idea of what the quarter looks like, or the year, or I bought this the other day, let me just show you it. So this is kind of my new one, but I tend to write everything that I'm sort of working on. This is sort of for the second half of 2020, but there's loads of sort of things in there, and and this is my notebook that's been at the beginning of 2020. But I have a vague idea of what I want sort of for the year to be, and so what it's about building and things. And sometimes, COVID-19 or various other things come in and surprise me, and different things happen. So I adapt and all the rest of it. But generally, at the beginning of every month, I know sort of what I'm working on, or I know what my kind of goals are, and I try and do that on a weekly basis. So for many years, I used to go, woo, Monday, I'm going to do all these things. And then I'd get to Friday and I'd go, God, I feel really tired. I'm so exhausted. Ooh, but I actually don't know what I did that week. And that can be a really tricky thing, because you're not feeling like you're getting that payoff, I guess, for your hard work. And you bought a new A4 project pad and I've run out of space. Love a new pad. Me too, mate. Me too. Morning, Vanessa. So I know by the end of the week what goals I want to do and what that so therefore, if I know what those goals are, I can start to put things in place. So for me, if I'm focusing on, for example, a few clients last week joined for July, I know like what that's going to look like. So therefore I need to make space so I can make sure that I can onboard them this week and I can make all that kind of work well. There's now that things like speaking and acting and that sort of more live version of my stuff is starting to happen. So I'm having lots of meetings and things like that. There's certain things that I need to put in place and update, and that's becoming much more of a priority. So I'm ready for when that moment happens. So making sure that you know what is going to be your success by the time you get to Friday or Saturday, and therefore you can reverse engineer the process. So the tasks that you end up doing are going to be matching and getting you to where you want to go to. Like if you were getting in a car, if you know that you're going on a long journey, it's going to be a different sort of vibe if you're going 10 minutes down the road. You're going to think about this is maybe just me, I'm going to think about my snacks, I'm going to think about where I'm going to have my toilet stop off, I'm going to think about those lovely motorway service stations that I love, South Mims, yes, you are one of my favourites, but I'm really thinking about it in that way. So I'm being really considered, and when I know that I'm being considered, I know then what I can say yes and no to and what I have capacity for. Because again, sorry, there's some kind of jiggery pokery outside, but we'll go if you can still hear me, hopefully, yes. So yeah, otherwise I just get stretched and like pulled in all different directions. The next thing I want you to look at is being really specific, because we can all be really vague, like, I really need to think about starting this newsletter, or I really need to think about growing my Instagram. Great. That's a really great start. Morning, Ingrid. But what are you going to do with that information? So if you know that you need to grow that Instagram following, if you know that you need to be more consistent, if you know that you need to generate more clients, whatever it might be, what are the specific actions that you need to take? Which leads me into the next one, is I always try and work, and if you've worked with me personally as well, good morning. If you've worked with me personally, you'll know I talk about this a lot, which again, I never thought I would end up doing, but my coach was like, what is this? Raby, what are you doing? I always have this joke that I meet coaching clients in the most random places. So I've met people at petrol stations, bus stops, church halls, and it was all just a bit random. And what my coach has taught me to do is to really look at that data. So now, because I know, and I guess it's taken me a bit of time to build it up, but even if you're just starting out, just start to really look at this thing, is notice the data of what works. So this might look like content, for example, that you put out. There may be certain pieces of content that you know are going to start a conversation or get somebody to book a call with you, or somebody to DM you and go, oh my goodness, thank you so much for talking about that. I felt like that as well. Depending on what your objectives are in terms of your content, but really notice what that data is. Likewise, I know that if I contact my newsletter list, my mailing list, my community, if I do that regularly, then it increases my clients coming in, because people are seeing me, I'm visible, and it's not like, oh, where's she been? Oh, I haven't heard from her for a while. I'm in people's inboxes. Sounds really grim, sorry, but like I'm having that conversation. I'm showing people that I'm here and I'm doing it, and I'm not just kind of being a bit of a part-timer on myself. I'm showing up for myself and I'm showing up for my clients. So notice that data. Sometimes you want to have a shift up, sure, like, you know, I know that I probably don't utilize LinkedIn as much as I should. And that's probably on my big master to-do list. Like, yeah, I really need to figure out what that platform does. But I'm not going to, oh, sure, there's some kind of drill going on. So, yeah, I'm not going to spend all the time available that I have for marketing sort of faffing around. I might start to just open up a little portion of my time available to working on my LinkedIn strategy. But for the most part, something like Instagram really works. It really connects. Sorry about the drill. I'm sure it'll stop in a second. It won't. Okay, fine. So this leads me on now to the consistency. So even though we are in uncertain, crazy times, where can you bring in consistency? So for me, there's one thing that I've started to do which is consistent, and it's something that I do struggle with. It's not something like, sometimes I get shiny object syndrome. I get really excited about something and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then something else happens. Consistency. So one thing I've noticed, like with my grid on Instagram, I've noticed if I put up consistent videos, it, like, my DMs, I checked my website stats this month, and for June already, so we're the 22nd today, I believe, my stats are 35% up from May. And May was like something like, it's just increased. And of course, like, Luna is older now, so I am starting to work more, so I'm not just kind of there's many different variables in it, but it's been really interesting in terms of noticing that consistency. So noticing that data and then making your moves of what you need to bring forward in terms of your consistency. The next thing, I've got two more things to share with you. Is this making sense? Feel free to ask any questions or share anything or anything like that, or feel free also to use it for accountability. Yeah, okay. The second to last thing that I've got to say is batch. So that sense of, if I do a video, if I've gone to the effort, maybe not today because my hair's still a bit wet at the back, if I put makeup on, if I'm feeling in flow, if I'm feeling great, if I'm feeling like I've got lots to say, if I mean, I often have, but like, if I'm feeling in the zone of sharing, of showing up, of all this good stuff, I batch wherever I can. So if I make a video, usually I go, oh, the kids are not back yet, I could do a couple more. And that sense that batching gives me of, oh my goodness, I've just got all that on my computer and it's good to go whenever I need it, makes me actually share the thing. Because I know so often people will say things like, let me just shut the window one sec. Oh, that's better. There we go. So I don't know why I didn't do that before, sorry. So yeah, when people say things like, the algorithm of Instagram really loves you to post at 7 a.m. And 7 a.m. is the time when people are mostly online and when they're going to engage. I guarantee that a lot of us, and I know certainly I've had that moment at 10 to 7 where I'm like, oh my goodness, I haven't got anything to post. I don't know what I should say. Maybe I don't know. And then because I get stuck in that, it's not perfect, I don't end up sharing it. I don't end up doing it. Whereas if I do stuff in advance and I batch stuff, by the time 7 o'clock comes around, or whenever I choose to post, actually, I'm not kind of a slave to the algorithm. Maybe I should be a bit more, but there we go. I am like, oh my goodness, I've got that video that I want to share, or I'm really excited about that, or you know, I've got a bank of things that I can call on. So what happens there is it takes the, maybe I'm not ready. What if nobody watches it? What if the algorithm doesn't like? It takes all of that emotion out and it just gets posted. And I'm sure like today, like you can hear some kind of cement mixer or drill or something going on out there, but I'm showing up. And I think sometimes that's just what you need to do, because again, you can wait until that glorious day when everything's going to be perfect, but certainly in times of lockdown and the unpredictability of life at the moment, if you are waiting until morning, if you're waiting until it's going to be perfect, it's going to be tricky. Okay, the final thing that I want to share is, and I'm going to save this, 7 a.m. See, this is the thing. I've no idea, Claire, if it is actually a 7 a.m. thing or not. I once heard it, but again, I've been to so many of these panels and these talks, and I've seen so many people looking for a categorical answer of like, it's a yes or it's a no. This is how you did it. Like I bought a course the other week about agents and sort of influencing and things like that, just mainly because I was curious, not because I want to be a social media influencer, but I have been asked to do a few things and I've kind of negotiated the deal myself. I've always had an acting agent for 20 years, but I had a speaker's agent for a little while, and then I found like I was getting all the work, but that's another story. One thing that they said was like, oh, you can't really earn money from social media unless you've got a minimum following of 25,000 people. And yes, of course, I get it that it makes more sense to have a bigger audience. But certainly, and I guess this is why I talk about it in terms of lots of my programs, like when I've worked with Stylist Magazine on numerous occasions, they've booked me for my content. They've booked me for what I say and how I show up. They've never begun, can we just see your insights behind the scenes? So I think sometimes we have to be really mindful about the information that we're given, in terms of, yes, it's good to kind of bear that in mind, but equally it's not a categorical yes or no, like it's available for me or it's not. Because basically when I left drama school, for example, it was like, oh, you're never going to go for the lead because you've got ginger hair. Turns out some of the gingers came out to play. All right, the final thing that I've got to share is basically, how can you get more eyes on your work, on your thing? And this is what happens sometimes when you want to do the easy stuff. And I'm saying this with love, with kindness, because I know that I can do it. So if I'm feeling like I don't really know what I'm doing, or I'm not focused, or I'm feeling scared, or I've got imposter syndrome, or I'm not feeling good enough, or I'm tired, or I'm not ready, or all that that's in my head, basically, I do faffing behind the scenes. What I mean by this, if I had a physical shop, this would mean me polishing the shelves, rearranging things, going, yeah, well, the shop looks really good and I only changed it around yesterday, but I've had a change of heart. Right, I'm going to move the till over here. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to keep the shop shut for another 24 hours. Sometimes you just got to open the door. You've got to open the door to your shop. And so if you're an online digital person, or if you're a service-based business, are you opening the doors to your shop? Or are you faffing behind the scenes? Are you polishing the shelves and doing all of that stuff instead of opening the door, even if you feel really scared, and going, do you want to come in and have a look? Do you want to come in? It's not ready. You might have all these things. It's not ready. And yeah, that wall kind of needs a bit of work, but come on in, like, let's have a chat. Let's start the conversation. So wherever you can, think about how more people to come into your shop, even if you're not feeling like it's completely ready, or your website needs some tweaks, or this isn't working, or something isn't happening. But you can start the conversation. You can tell people what you're working on. You can I hate that thing because it sounds so contrived. You can build rapport with somebody. But you can just have a nice chat. You can just be in each other's world for a little while. Because this is the thing. I started booking people to come on my podcast before I really knew what it was. Like I think I batched about 4 or 5 before I went live. I've no idea, to be honest. I can't remember. That was 2018. But sometimes you've just got to make those moves and go, I'm doing it, so let's see what happens, and things like that. Also, as well, this is, I guess, a final point. You never know, this sounds creepy, you never know who's watching. You never know who needs what you have to offer. So again, people would say, get somebody on your mailing list. Your mailing list is like, it's going to change everything. Yes, for the most part, when I send out my things on my mailing list, I get a lot of traction. I get new clients, new people sign up for my courses, people join my events, whatever that might be. I've built that community. But last week, for example, a friend of a friend's husband was like, yeah, I saw something about this Jam and Plan thing that you're doing next week. Can I join? And it was so interesting because in my head, I hadn't even considered those sorts of people, those opportunities. And I think this is a really interesting opportunity, especially now that I don't know if you're feeling this, but everything feels like it's rearranging. Everything feels like people are leading, I guess, much more. Yes, absolutely. Everybody is feeling like they're much more open. And maybe I'm experiencing this from the acting days where people go, oh, hi, darling, who are you? Like they have that horrible cold energy. And these days I've had, like during lockdown, I've had meetings with casting directors, and they're like, Nikki, how's things? And they would, like, in the room under general circumstances, yeah, they might be polite, but they're never like, so how are the kids? What's happening? What's going on? La la. They're not in that sort of space. So now is some time to make some moves. And believe me, there are opportunities out there. And that's an interesting place to come from, because I know when I've been in this place as well, when I feel like I don't know where the next client or the next thing, or sometimes I feel like I'm never going to work again. I used to feel like that so much, especially when I was first starting out. I felt like I'd kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, that's everything now. Like I feel like that's maybe my quota filled. And it really isn't. Like you don't know who's watching. You don't know who needs exactly what you have to offer. So you have to keep showing up and you have to keep sharing. And I think just by doing the set number of things, and maybe this is because my 17-year-old kind of sassy, rebellious self lives on in, is I don't work and I don't operate my business on a tick box scheme. So I don't necessarily go, right, I've emailed my newsletter and I've blogged twice a week now, so that is kind of how I'm going to run my business. I'm like, no, how can I mix things up? How can I talk to more people? How can I have conversations? What do I need to do to get me where I want to go? So I hope that's been useful. If you've got questions, please feel free to leave them here. If you want to come into the DMs and tell me what you're going to work on this week, if you want a bit of accountability, let me know, and then I will DM you back maybe on Sunday or something and just see how you got on, just as a kind of little goodwill gesture. I'm very happy to do that. If you're not signed up for Jam and Plan Live tomorrow, do come. It's going to be mega. It's not just going to be like, I mean, if you've got loads from today where I'm just talking to you, this is going to be really tangible actions, and we're going to go through 4 different areas. So the first one is all about reflection and clarity, and really figuring out like where you are now and where you want to go next. The second one is about money. And I know, because I'm a big advocate of it, like, do what you love. Yeah, I'm living my best life, goals, etc. If the money is not flowing, you are not going to be your creative self, because you're going to be stressed about other things, how to pay bills, how to do things, making sure you've got enough food in your fridge. Like, you want to be able to make the shift from a hobby business into a profit business. So Getting really clear on some numbers is the second thing that we're going to be doing, and really coming at money from a place of excitement and of possibility, and what you could do and how you could earn, and make it really kind of lovely. The third one is all about be it, don't sell it. So if you ever feel like you're, I don't know, having to do flash sales or buy now or look at this, you know, that kind of like sill it bang. Hi, I'm Barry Scott. Get this right now. If you're feeling like you have to do business in that way, you really don't. And equally, if you're in that feast or famine, like you do something and it goes really well and then nothing happens, and if you're kind of just feel like you're fighting your business the whole time, we're going to be talking a lot about selling and packaging and pulling things together. The fourth section of the day is going to be all about visibility. So sharing from a very authentic, centered place, and not being a sleazy pants marketer, and making sure that it feels really good. You know, I've had so many coaches who have kind of given me advice, feedback, and they're like, you need to do this. I'm like, maybe, but no, it doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, I'm not going to attract my people, and they're going to be like, what are you doing, Nikki? Why have you started doing that weird stuff? Why have you started blending into everybody else and becoming something that you're not? So I know, and somebody said it the other day, like, oh, I really enjoyed your course. And I was thinking about when they purchased it, and it was July last year. So, very helpful. I'm just starting up Positive Vibe. Thank you. What's your name? I don't know your name. Hello. So yeah, it was like this time last year, but it was July. So I was 8.5 months pregnant. I was probably really hot. I was probably just wandering around in some pants. I mean, I'm throwing you some big imagery here, but I tell you what, like, I could, at that point, I could still sit with a laptop, uncomfortably maybe, but I could still write from my heart and connect with people. And, you know, I was still able to make sales. And I've always talked about this as well, that when I had both of my children, I earned money whilst I was in hospital. Not from doing any dodgy deals or anything, but hello. Oh, brilliant. Hi, Emma. But yeah, it's kind of, there's so much opportunity to be had. And then, okay, so this is the juicy bit, because in my client sessions, people always leave and they're like, right, yes, I'm going to do it. Woo! And then they're like, the next day, oh, this feels a lot. Where do I start? What am I doing? So this is the beauty thing. So from tomorrow until next Tuesday, you have unlimited WhatsApp email support with me. So say you do session 2, for example, tomorrow, and you're like, and if you can't join live, by the way, like, everything will be there and it will be available, so you've got it for keeps, and my nice slides and all that stuff. So say, for example, you go, right, money, I need to do this, I need to get some more people into my business, I need to figure out how I'm going to do this. You've got from Tuesday tomorrow till next Tuesday to have that accountability with me. So you can send me stuff, you can send me your sales page and go, does this make sense? Like, who am I talking to? Or am I pricing too high, too low? What am I doing? All that good stuff. And then the final component is on Tuesday the 30th, we come back together again and we can kind of reflect and see what you've kind of worked on, maybe accountability, where you want to go next, and just really track it for a week and see what happens. Because I know at this time everybody's saying, I'm going to do it after the summer, I'm going to do it this year, when the kids go back to school, I'm going to make a start on this. And when you give yourself all that time and space to do it, sometimes it's so overwhelming and you're just building up to it. You're building up to the thing. And if you can just start little and often, that's why I've kept it really snappy. So from tomorrow, a week, and then the final Tuesday as well. Just see what you can do. Because I tell you what, I bet you can do more in a week than you can, I don't know. this is the challenge, right? And when I was talking, I had a coach a couple of years ago, and I was talking about my money goals, and I was like, so this is what I want to do, like, for the year. And she was like, a year? You don't need that long. I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, you don't need that long. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying you need 12 months to do that? She was like, you could do that in a month. And it was so baffling to me, because that was just not how I was thinking in the slightest. But I think sometimes it's like the 6 weeks holiday that we used to have at school, right? Where you'd be like, oh my goodness, 6 weeks holiday, it's so long. But guaranteed, I don't know if your parents were like this. My mum was like, oh my God, they go back to school next week. Right, haircuts, bags, school uniform, shoes, reading, spellings. Like, we were doing it the night before. And that's the thing. Sometimes time is not your friend. Having oodles and oodles of time, it's not going to help you in the long run. So if you've liked, I've only literally just given you a taster today. So if you like anything that you've heard today, tomorrow, hello, next year, this year, come tomorrow. So there's 4 sessions. I'm going to be doing it live with slides on Zoom. I'm sending everything through shortly. But if you can't join live, don't worry. But because of that email WhatsApp support, it's kind of that incentive for you to get it done. Because again, how many people have bought online courses that they never do? And I've seen it in my own stats. People who bought stuff from me, they never watch it, they never experience it. And so if you like this, come over NikkiRavey.com /Jam and Plan live. And once the spots are gone, there's a cap on it, because there's only one of me. So and because it's got that level of support as well. So don't wait. Basically, if you've liked what you've heard today, come and get this party started. Anyway, I will leave it there. I've got to prepare for a client. I haven't drunk my tea. That's all right. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for joining. If you want to share it in your stories, if you know people in your community who would love this kind of info, share it. I would love that, and very much appreciate it. All right, I'm so sorry, I'm going now, but I'm going to save it and you can catch up in a bit. All right, bye.